If you're looking to instantly improve your Apex Legends skills, asking yourself, how do I stop dying? You're in the right spot, as today I'm converting my over 5,000 hours in-game to 100 of the most important tips and tricks for Legends, weapons, aiming maps, grenades, ranked, movement, game sense, and a lot more. Let's jumpstart your skills right now. Crypto can now go invisible in his drone, but did you know you can still move while operating the drone? Pop the drone while sliding and your momentum will continue on, and you'll be invisible, letting yourself escape out of bad situations. Now you'll be invisible both from your enemies and your teammates as they take a 2-on-3 while you play your Game Boy. Finishers are more than just styling on enemies, they also give a 100 bonus evo to replenish your shields. Also, if a sweaty Wraith gets knocked, perform a finisher on them because you know they're quitting, and you'll still get the finisher bonuses even if they quit mid-finisher. E-District has a ton of great landing spots, but a big one I want to mention is the Lotus Towers. If you manage to land here on your own, each member of your squad can land on a tower, looting the roof, and then drop all the way down to the bottom level to get a ton of loot. Not to mention there's a balloon for great rotation power, a crafter, in both ring and survey consoles. Normally this is where I insert the obligatory joke about the Mozambique being the best weapon in all of the Outlands, but this actually does not apply anymore. However, is the Mozambique or P2020 akimbo better? It depends on how you want to play, but for the most part, the P2020 dual wield has the better overall damage output per mag, whereas the Mozambique might be a little bit better to finish off enemies who are already low health. Save some time, you can drop items while you're swapping with something on the ground or in a death box. You don't need to back out and then go into your inventory. A sneaky tip is that you can carry an extra optic in your inventory and swap between them depending on the range you want to engage enemies at, making you a little bit more versatile. Getting through doorways with rampart or Newcastle barriers can be tough, but did you know it only takes 2 punches to break any of their walls? Also, if you are stealth approaching enemies, you can melee Watson's fence nodes, just be careful when doing it. Much like running faster with no weapons out, you can climb higher with your weapons holstered. Same if you are using speed boosting abilities like Octane Stim and Wraith's Tactical Phase. Since LMGs now get more accurate at hipfire the longer you hold down the trigger, learning how to effectively track your hipfire is always critical no matter the range you are firing at. Try increasing the sign speed in the firing range to get the hipfire and tracking feeling down. Here's my recommended bag layout for each backpack. Remember, this is a baseline as it somewhat depends on your loadout, the mode, and how your team is playing. Notice I always try to have at least 1 grenade, and I am not taking an excessive amount of health healing items. Speaking of health heals, if you are stuck in ring 3, did you know you can actually survive by using medkits? You can take 3 ticks of ring damage, and then before that 4th tick hits you, pop a medkit, and you will survive the 10-tick ring. If you are going to take this big ring damage, do not panic. Repeat this healing process till you walk out. There's plenty of walking to be done on E-District, as this map is big with lots of playable space, but unfortunately, the loot is pretty spread out, making your time spent running around, picking items up a little bit longer. A big tip I need to mention is to not over loot on this map, or really any map, especially in pubs. Get a weapon and take a fight to improve your skills. Also, getting 1 elimination means you get all of that enemy's loot, which is way better than running around and doing it yourself. One thing I see many alters missing out on is sending out the tactical to enemies behind smaller pieces of cover. All it takes is the slightest misstep from enemies and they will accidentally pop out on your side. Also, don't forget you can do this to those who are trying to troll you. If you want to build consistency in your game, implement a 3-minute training routine at the start of every play session. Here's what I recommend. 1 minute of tap firing the signs to get your target acquisition down, 1 minute of spraying the signs at range to get the recoil field down, and 1 minute of doing zipline pop shots to get some movement and aim down. Doing this massively helps your overall consistency and stops you from wasting those first few matches, which can be a big deal. Much like muting toxic players' voices, you can mute some random player from spam pinging by going to their squad banner and clicking this little icon. For the speedsters out there, a big tip for Octanes is that you should be mindful of your stim usage. Try not to use the stim back to back prior to entering fights, as taking 40 damage solely from your stim is a massive deal. Save the stim for escaping or crossing gaps when you need to. I highly recommend taking the double stim damage reduction to let you use it a little bit more frequently as well. Survey beacons are too good to bypass now. Getting real-time intel as to the enemy's locations is huge, and if you haven't considered it yet, try Crypto, as he can get the beacons with his drone remotely, easily, and quickly. The way you move in Apex is critical, from the micromanagement and small movements of your character to the larger rotations in game. A huge tip is to utilize third-person mode in the firing range. Using this will help you get the look and feel down as to what your character is doing and thus make you a little bit better in game. Need to quickly get a knocked teammate to cover, crouch and punch them to move them behind cover. Note that this does not work in deeper waters such as on Storm Point and on smaller terrain changes. This is great to save teammates from getting finished from afar or eliminated by the ring if they do get knocked just before the exit. Pathfinder's capabilities have really come around in a big way over the past few seasons. If you choose the damage reduction while riding a zipline upgrade, this actually reduces the amount of damage you take from the ring, so if you are stuck late rotating in a ring 3 or later zone, this damage reduction can be a huge way to help you survive. The less space there is, the higher in value grenades have. This means either the ring being smaller, or if you are fighting in a smaller enclosed area like inside of buildings or against terrain, mountains, and tunnels, the longer you can save your grenades at endgame, the better they do become as well. King's Canyon is known for its third parties and endless fighting, but if you need guaranteed loot, land at caustic treatment. This can be one of the best POIs for a 20 bomb if the dropship starts over this location. Otherwise, containment is going to be the way to go. Shotguns can be one of the strongest close range swap 2 weapons in the game, but understanding how they work is key. Did you know that E to 8 in single Mozambique can be fired in full auto? So hold the trigger down. Plus, the pellet spread of the Mastiff gets tighter if you are aiming down sights, and also know that the PK pellet pattern is now in the shape of a V, not a star anymore. The firing range is an insane tool to improve your weapon and overall recoil control. Try this out of the box aim training routine by utilizing Horizon's gravity lift to force dummies up into the air as you practice beaming them out of the sky. This will help you counter Horizons and really anyone else who does have vertical movement. Mirage's tactical decoys may not be the best part of his kit, but placing decoys on death boxes and even crafters can be insane to confuse enemies and get a tag as to where they are. I often find leaving decoys crouched on doors can be very viable to get an alternate angle on enemies, as enemies don't realize the decoy is not real and they can just open the door. Mirage is one of those legends who can massively use a rework, but which legends need buffs? Comment below and hit the like button if you think more legends need buffs than nerfs. Also, if I missed any important tips, drop them down there too. Most don't know this tip. Your only or best stock needs to go on the weapon you are using first in a gunfight. Your weapon swap speed is dependent on the stock of the weapon that you have drawn out. Every second matters when you have multiple enemies running at you and you need to swap your guns and keep firing. Many higher caliber weapons like the 30-30, longbow, and the wingman can actually open doors if you shoot them. All you have to do is shoot the door on the swing side, not the hinge side, and the door will open. This can be solid to do damage on those enemies who are camping inside of buildings, but not monitoring or closing their doors. Did you know you can destroy Wraith's portal if you place it on top of a supply bin? All you have to do is open the supply bin and the portal will disappear, preventing enemies from chasing you through the portal. If you haven't played Apex in a while, you can select any stat tracker artwork and put them on any legend now. Try this out for some really cool combinations. A simple but very important movement technique is to utilize heal peeking. Basically, this involves jumping over shorter objects while you heal up. This is going to give you continual intel while you reset your health. Not doing this closes yourself off to your surroundings. Looking to rank up from rookie to master? Here's a strategy that's going to help you out. You need to prioritize early and endgame fights, get a squad wipe off the drop, and then avoid fights till the endgame. Getting fights in the mid game can be brutal and lead you to endless third parties. This is why getting some easy or safe KP off the drop is critical, so you can prioritize positioning and get the best placement you possibly can. When in gunfights, jumping needs to be minimized. Not only does it slightly reduce your accuracy mid-spray, once your feet leave the ground in any gunfight, you're insanely easy to track as your movement is predictable and linear till you are back on the ground. Did you know you can zoom in with Fuse's ultimate motherload? Some players still do not know this, and some also don't realize that you can zoom in with Pathfinder's zipline gun to get a more accurate placement as to where you want to rotate to. If you are playing on Olympus and you see a Marvin's arm who is sparking, you can break that Marvin to get a gold arm to drop on the ground, pick it up, and then you can bring this golden arm to a one-armed Marvin to get some free gold items. Today, heat shields are kind of forgotten due to evac towers, but do you know that heat shields actually revive players faster when you are outside of the ring and preventing ring damage? If you get an enemy in a close range fight down to one shot, it's way slower to reload your guns to finish them. If you can, just bop them with a punch to get a quick finish, or swap weapons is the second best option. Reloading should really be the last resort. You can now pick up controller legends, traps, and barriers remotely, which is awesome on its own, but this also gives you additional flexibility to make some plays. You can trap up a building enemies are camped in, and then remove the traps if you want to funnel enemies out one way as you push in another. If you haven't played Apex in a while, you now respawn with your weapons when you do get respawned mid-game. However, if you die while outside of the ring, you're not going to come back with your guns. Keep this in mind. If you are rotating late and you get caught in the edge of the zone, you're not going to come back with any weapons. Ash's arc snare is great at controlling area, but if you want some hilarious clips, try hitting a player on a zipline. Sometimes it's going to rip them right off if they panic jump. This can be great to stop enemies from pushing you, or even have players fall to their death in certain locations. Lots of players love using snipers and marksman weapons as they allow them to deal damage from further away and get higher damage games. This is completely fine, but once the end game comes, you should always prioritize dropping your longer range weapon for something close up. All games end in close range, and you need to be ready for the engagements that follow. Stay flexible and adapt to your match. A massive tip for Newcastles out there is to learn to be effective with the Revive knockdown shield. Not only is it incredible for the obvious of resetting the squad, canceling a revive and getting shots on enemies, and then starting a revive again can be insanely difficult for enemies to predict and handle. If an enemy is door camping with you, do not hit open, as this greatly gives them the advantage. However, if an enemy does this and the door indicator says press to close, all you have to do is back off the door and it's gonna open, letting you stick or beam the enemy that is camped on the door. This gives you complete control of the timing and the element of surprise. Did you know that if your minimap is flashing, this means you are outside of the ring's safe area? If it is solid, you are inside the ring. This is insane when you are closer to the end game and you might be right on the edge, but you aren't quite sure if you are in the ring. All you have to do is look at your map and you will know. If you still want to be a team healer and slightly more aggressive in combat, try out Conduit, as applying temporary shields and having area control is so useful. But the bigger reason to use Conduit and a support legend is for ranked Apex. Having a support legend means anyone else in the squad can craft banners, which is greatly needed to minimize RP losses. Staying healthy in Apex Legends is half of the game. You need to consistently keep your shields up. Even small shield cells over time are important, and your time management and micromanagement of this is critical. If you are doing nothing, you better be full health. When using an evac tower, you do not need to look at the top of the tower to see if it's going to go away soon. A lot of people know this, but you can look at the center icon that is just off the ground, but you can also even look at the base of the tower, as this changes colors, letting you know if it is about to expire. Broken Moon can be difficult at times, either in loot or winning matches. The one POI I need to mention is Production Yard. Landing here can be great, as oftentimes in the back there are survey beacons or ring consoles. Not to mention the loot is very dense on the dock. Also, a crafter can spawn in this POI. Did you know when you open a loot bin, if a weapon is in the box, it's nearly always going to be on the left side of that box. If you are dropping right with an enemy, you can also let enemies open the box for you, as this lets you focus right on where the gun is going to be, picking it up before them. If it feels like everything you do in game is not working, try to play a couple matches of the new Bot Royale. This will help you get some practice with Apex Legends basics and build your confidence up a little bit before you go up against other players. If one of your teammates gets knocked, sometimes after or even before you start reviving them, it's going to be solid to have one of your teammates drop their armor so the knocked friendly can at least get a very quick armor swap so they do not get one tapped and knocked again. You can also pull armors from death boxes and drop them for your use at any time during a reset or in any fight. The mental aspect of Apex Legends is often something that gets overlooked. The amount of sleep you get, what you've eaten, and your overall mood for the day absolutely affects your in-game performance. Take a breath, and if you can't seem to do anything on a particular day, remember it's not a big deal and there is always tomorrow. Most players know that the big fortified boys get 15% damage reduction to compensate for their size, but did you know their heads do not get this reduction? So aim for the head to get most out of your damage on fortified enemies. If you are struggling real bad with your shot in Apex, I highly recommend you use the Bolt SMG and the R301 assault rifle. These two weapons are the most basic and typical weapons in Apex Legends. If you're coming from other shooters, they may feel familiar, and to be honest, they are great performing weapons. Obviously, you want to stay as healthy as you can in Apex, but if your enemy is a one-on-one with your teammate while you are popping a medkit, battery, or a Phoenix kit, sometimes you gotta stop healing and finish the fight with your friendly teammate. Assuring your teammate stays up and you get the squad wipe is better than your teammate getting knocked, you needing to revive them, and then you both have to heal. All of this is amplified if third parties are nearby. Did you know that some weapons in Apex Legends can do collateral damage? In particular, this tip revolves around the snipers in Apex. Many do think of the Kraber when it comes to collateral damage, but there are more weapons than just the Kraber that can do this. A cool tip for those who are playing against or with Loba involves her ultimate. If you notice loot is floating off the ground, this is not a glitch. This means someone is currently inside of a Loba ultimate. This can be great to get some intel as to who is around, even without seeing those enemies. It'll also tell you if enemies are distracted because they are using the black market. There's a lot of zipline tricks in Apex Legends, but being able to move quickly up or down that zipline elevator is a must. When dropping down a zipline, attach to it at the bottom and then crouch to release yourself off the zip. The crouching action will sling yourself forward, whereas if you connect and then jump off that zipline, it's gonna slow your momentum and you don't want to do this. Flinching in a gunfight in Apex used to be troublesome, but if you missed it, flinch has been removed from the game. It used to be that only health damage caused flinch, but other than taking ring damage now, no ability or weapon is going to cause you to flinch in a one-on-one. When using a mobile respawn, understand understand that these are third-party magnets. Players are going to want to capitalize on respawning players as they seem like they are a free KP. Try to place Mobies on height or further away areas from the ring to get players up safely. Also, if you're coming back from a revive, you should be looking around to call out enemies to your squad, and if you're in a pinch, mobile respawns are great as makeshift cover at endgames. If you are struggling to pick your main legend, that is okay. In some ways, there is no right or wrong legend, and rather, picking the legend that complements the entire team's squad matters more than your specific selection, as really every legend is viable in their own unique ways. Bonus tip, if you are not sure who to play in Apex Legends, hop into my community Discord. I have a dedicated channel where you can ask me questions and you can find others to play with, as playing with randoms in Apex is pretty terrible compared to pre-made squads. The more you know about Apex Legends, both in and out of game, the better you will become. This is why Apex Legends status is critical to utilize. Not only can you see what legends are being used at what ranks, you can learn a ton more about the maps in Apex to better plan your drops, rotations, and overall looting paths. Here's an insane aim tip that works for any weapon, and if you are in a multi-enemy fight. Aim down sights for a few seconds and then hip fire. You'll get incredible accuracy as the ADS to hip fire bloom takes time to transition. This is incredible to be able to snap from target to target and have better movement, as you don't have the aim down sights slow movement, which affects your strafing and overall movement speed. You used to be able to put a lot of items on tridents like heat shield, Seer's ultimate, and Gibraltar's bubble, but did you know you can still put on Rampart's ultimate to get you a very unique type of feel? Are you one of the people that didn't know the paintbrush icon in the corner of your weapon allows you to change the skin of your gun to your selected skin? Come on, fess up. Lifeline's drone does not work while you are taking ring damage, however, it does work while you are in heat shields, making Lifeline and heat shields a pretty important pairing. Additionally, do not be afraid to drop Lifeline's DOC healing drone during combat, as getting health from your drone is powerful mid-gunfight, and it's insane to recover shields and health at the same time. Stormpoint remains one of the most looked at competitive maps in Apex Legends. 3 POIs you can land at for better rotations and overall safer placement is the top of Command Center where the cannon is, Lightning Rod as you can rotate downhill all game long, making your life much easier, and the mill as loot here is massively compact, letting you quickly rotate out, and there is a trident in the back. In Apex Legends, it's important to never give up, even when it does seem grim, and especially when you are knocked. Seconds matter, and if you can stop an enemy from finishing you, even for a brief moment, this could save your entire match. Learn to be a demon with a knockdown, and try to look ahead of where your enemies are if you are knocked to give yourself every chance to live. Revenant has not only continued to be a great movement legend, he's not too bad as the team tank either. Rev can enter fights before your squad mates, soak up damage via his ultimate overshield, allowing your team to be healthier and live longer. When late rotating with an evac tower, pop the ultimate before hitting the tower if you know you're going to be evacing into a hot area. When dropping in or redeploying, you can fly into the side of mountains or tall structures to quickly get yourself to the ground. This is great to get that edge on enemies by beating them to the loot, or surprise enemy squads by falling in with guns blazing. When you're looting off your drop, be mindful of what you're picking up. Needlessly gripping and picking everything up off the drop is a bad habit to build. It wastes time if you need to take a quick early game fight, and don't let the trash items you grab be the reason why you are slow to move around and loot a death box. This kind of evolves into how important seconds can be. Literal seconds can be the difference between winning and losing. Don't rush things, but also don't be lazy and speed up a little bit. Looking to play the thickest legend in the game, Gibraltar, Gibby gets a gun shield which gives him an additional 50 shield protection for his center mass. If you get an LMG with a new shield pop up, this is a bonus 20 to 30 shields. So if you are a red Evo fortified Gibraltar with all of this, he plays out like a legend that is 330 total health. Crypto is one of the hardest legends in Apex to get down, but he has a ton of potential in ranked. Did you know all you have to do is call your drone and then look at the signs to see how many teams are around? This is massive for taking smarter fights so you can prevent your team from getting third-partied or even ratted on. Grenades are incredibly useful. Did you know you can just press the grenade button twice to easily swap nades without going into your inventory? Also, the little lines next to the grenade icon show you if you have one type of nade, no lines, 2 types with 1 line on the side, and 3 types with 2 lines on either side of the icon. One of the biggest issues I see newer or less experienced players doing is actually nothing. Do not play scared, and remember to take chances. No one becomes good overnight, but not trying new things and pushing yourself is going to stunt your growth. The streets in and around E District are filled with hiding spots, so if you are in desperation and you need to conserve your RP lost in ranked, all you really need to do is be mindful of slightly higher elevation as you walk around. Play Valkyrie to reach these spots a little bit more easily. Every player in Apex needs to quickly be able to armor swap. However, if you are on controller, you should learn how to seamlessly jump as you enter a death box. This keeps you mobile and elusive while you get those quick swaps. You can also practice some makeshift armor swap practice by utilizing the firing range death boxes just like this. Gibraltar's Dome Shield is one of the harder abilities to counter in Apex. One of the biggest tips I can recommend is to coordinate with an arc star on top of a Gibraltar's Dome Shield right before the dome goes away. This can have an arc star drop right into enemies, doing some pretty massive damage. I can't stress how important your overall zipline utilization is in Apex. There's a really nice movement mechanic known as the zipline super jump. It's simple. All you have to do is connect to a zipline, and right as you connect, double tap jump as fast as you can. This will give you a nice boost into the air, which can be useful to bypass climbing some ledges and allow you to get to hard to reach areas more quickly. Horizon's lift is known for its incredible movement capabilities, but you should also use the lift as a tool to stop movement. Placing a lift on a doorway can prevent enemies from entering your space, letting you get a battery off or even a revive. Apex Legends is absolutely an RNG based battle royale, meaning you will not always get the best loot or the best ring pull. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to understand this and embrace the randomness. Consistency in Apex is key. You won't always get the win, but if you can consistently and constantly get a top 5 and eliminate your early deaths, this will bring you light years ahead of the competition. Learn to minimize your losses. 3 5th places is better than 1 win and 4 15th places. In general, here's who should get the priority of the gold items in Apex Legends. Knockdown goes to Lifeline and Newcastle. Secondary to these two legends is anyone being the team's anchor. Helmet always goes to the legend with longer ultimate or tactical abilities like Bangalore or Gibraltar, and the gold bag can go to anyone to carry more heals, but Fuse is a big one as he can stack more shields and thus carry more grenades. One of my favorite tips for Wattson is to place one of the fence nodes down and then wait for enemies to approach. You can then place the second node down, stunning the enemy who is nearby. This also works great through doorways. Sticking with the controller legends, Catalyst's turtling power is incredible to stop enemies' advancements. Did you know you can easily place traps down by hitting the tactical against any adjacent wall or door? You do not need to line up perfectly to get great placement, as hitting any adjacent structure gives you the perfect placement and is much faster. If you are playing Apex Legends Revival or some of the other instant respawn modes, if you die off the drop, it only takes a few seconds to respawn, so force a bleed out and then come back if your teammate is in a fight so you can keep your team going. It's been a well-known tip for a while, but if you haven't tried it, you need to learn vert or sky nading with frag grenades. You can easily practice this in the firing range, but the main reason to learn this is that it can be one of the only tools to get enemies off of height in a stalemate type of situation. Just because the top of rooftops or mountains are not playable, it doesn't mean they are not useful to use. When rotating or flying around, landing out a roof and being out of bounds and then dropping off of that can be a massive way to get a creative entry to a battle that a lot of enemies cannot predict. Did you know every map in Apex Legends has spots where the end game will never happen? This includes areas with lava or certain terrain, but the big tip I want to mention is that the end zone will nearly never end inside of a building. Use this to predict the best end game placement, even if you are unfamiliar with the ring's ending spot. Getting your first 4K damage game can be pretty tough, but here's 3 tips to get more high damage games. One is to use Fuse and Rampart. Fuse's Knuckle Cluster allows you to farm free damage, and Rampart's Amped Walls nets you a free damage boost. Finish knocked enemies. This damage counts to your overall counter, and use Marksman or LMG weapons. Being able to deal damage to everyone at range is going to really be needed to get 4K badges. Mad Maggie's tactical drill upgrades are awesome. Bigger drill makes it way more usable, but I highly recommend you look at taking the double drill upgrade. While the drill is not going to be as effective, being able to have a second tactical charge means the cooldown timer is constantly going rather than waiting for you to use the ability. This goes for all legends with 2 tacticals like Fuse's Clusters, Bang Smokes, or even now Seer's double tactical upgrade. Ballistic may not be the best legend, but his tactical smart pistol is massively underrated. Try to only use this ability in the close range, as forcing enemies' weapons to overheat in a close range 1-on-1 or even a 1-on-2 can massively swing a fight, as this instantly makes their time to kill worse than yours. For controller players, if you are stuck on a doorway and you need to reload but you cannot open the door due to an enemy chasing you, you can empty your magazine and the weapon will start to reload when you do hit the trigger, or if you have the auto reload setting on. A huge tip for Bangalore smokes is that you generally do not want to smoke yourself when rotating. This closes off all your visuals to what is around you. If you can, smoke the enemy's positioning or in between you and the enemy. If you need to loot a death box or stop yourself from getting hit immediately though, then self-smoking is okay. A less known tip for Ramparts is that you can use her tactical amped walls for more than just a damage boost or defending areas. You can use them to get up to slightly out of reach areas, place a wall down, climb on it, and then climb up. With Season 22's remote pickup for the traps and barriers, this can let you remotely pick up the item that you did just climb on as well. Apex Legends lives and dies by the third party, but if you are at the end game with 3 squads left, you should never be the one to start the end game engagement. You want to do everything possible to be the third partying team and get the win. Want the 20 bomb badge? It's a little bit easier in the revive mode in Apex, but you need to have a ton of luck and you absolutely have to drop hot, spend minimal time looting outside of just getting the necessities, and truly, you gotta have no regards for your overall match health. You gotta just push. At the end of Ring 2 in Apex Legends, all the loot bins do get reset. Also at this time, a mythic bin is gonna spawn, so keep an eye out on the map for this. This is a great time to capitalize on kills if enemies are too hard focused on the mythic bin, which does take a long 12 seconds to open. Olympus actually has some great guaranteed loot spots. Lifeline's POI has some disco balls in the basement, plus there's a guaranteed purple item on the healing pad. The back of Docks on Olympus also has a sneaky loot pill with a guaranteed purple or gold item in it. Vantage has been coming around since her Season 14 release, but her ultimate is better than ever. Here's a tip that's difficult to learn, but masterfully useful if you can get it down. If you time it correctly, you can shoot 2 ultimate snipes back to back with minimal delay. You need to have only 1 shot ready to fire, and right before the second shot is about to replenish, you fire the first, and then you will be able to instantly shoot the second with no delay. Use your game clock or timer to better track the 40 seconds between the shots replenishing. When it comes to Apex, if you are not critically thinking about how you are playing, you aren't going to improve really, as Apex can be a brutally difficult game, so always ask yourself what could have you done better after each match, talk it over with your teammates, and if you can, record and watch your footage back. If you're wondering what the #1 thing or skill to work on is, above all else, in Apex, it's gonna be your gun skill. No flashy movement is gonna eliminate your enemies. Check out my streams if you have any Apex questions, slam the like button. I will see you in my Discord, and until next time, happy gaming, Legends.